Since its creation, the Hive has consistently been one of the most popular and most played featured servers on Minecraft Bedrock Edition by far. And when you think of the Hive, there is one game that always comes to mind: Treasure Wars. But with the mention of such a game, it truly produces a question that continues to linger within the air. Is Treasure Wars truly the best game on the Hive? Is it objectively the most fun and exhilarating? Will I be able to debate and argue that Treasure Wars is truly the best, or will I try my heart out and still fall short? Find out as you watch this video. Our beloved game begins its story October 16th, 2018. Almost 3 whole years ago. That is insane. And what's more is that variant modes like Duos, Trios, Squads, and Mega wouldn't see the light of day until after November of that same year. And what the craziest thing is that our current max level in Treasure Wars is 100, was actually only 50 upon release. And talking about updates that increase the maximum level of Treasure Wars wouldn't see an update for a year and a half after its release. April 24th, 2020 is when the first big content update came out, where the max level was increased to 75, and following that date, July 26th, was the preview of the next big update, which increased the level to 100. But what I find to be truly fascinating about Treasure Wars, and in particular its community, is that even despite this whole year and a half with no extra content for Treasure Wars never revoked its throne or crown as the most popular game on the Hive. It started out as the best, and it continued to be the best 100% of the way through. So with any game or any facet of a game, there is no such thing as perfection. There is always something you can do better. And although Treasure Wars is a great game overall, it is not entirely flawless. Now, when I think of two very important facets of a game, mechanics and meta are usually the two that come to my head. And when it comes to meta and mechanics-wise, Treasure Wars is very sound. It has a way to play that way works very well. However, meta has always been a bit of a more iffy and shifting type of facet of Treasure Wars. To further expand on what I am talking about, let's not look any further than the second big content update taking place on July 26, 2020, as mentioned before. Now, also, as I mentioned before, you would have heard that I referred to it as an update preview. And what that meant was that the definitive finalized update did not actually release until sometime in early August. The update preview was, in a sense, a beta. Things they were testing out, increasing, decreasing prices of things, taking things, adding things into the game, things like that. It was quite the wild time. They weren't really sure with what they wanted to do with the meta, and that 2 weeks within itself was pretty wild. Now granted, considering Treasure Wars has been around for nearly 3 years at this point, 2 weeks of a bit of a faulty meta isn't so bad. Now another thing I'd like to allude to is the platform balances, or thereby lack of. And what I mean by that is the advantages that one console is given over the other, such as a relationship from mobile to PC, or console to PC, or mobile to console, etc., etc. You understand exactly what I'm referring to. And honestly, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is quite the grilling issue. When you take into account that Hive was designed with taking critical hits out of the equation completely in favor of comboing, and you also take into account that PCs in general can hit a hell of a lot faster than any other platform, you realize that that can be very advantageous for PC and very disadvantageous for anything else. And it really creates this balance issue, because if I'm going up against a PC, really it's my tough luck, to be honest. And the winner of that fight comes down to whether luck supersedes skill or skill supersedes luck. And 75% of the time, it's always going to be the skill that beats the luck. Now, it makes sense that more advanced players are in situations like these more than novice players, but on that same token, if a novice player is put in a situation like this where they feel like no matter what they do, what they learn, what they practice, it's inevitable to try because they'll always lose a fight, that type of mindset is going to push players away from the game. There are a few remedies for this issue in my head, however. First remedy, I would say, is there should be an option to choose whether you want a random lobby with whoever, or a lobby that is just exclusive for your console, so Xbox players with Xbox players, Switch with Switch, etc, etc. Another approach they could take with this is incorporating skill-based matchmaking, whether that be ranked lobbies or anything like that. It will help people to get better overall if they are paired with someone who is of similar skill level with them. If they are just slightly better, that's not a problem either. Just as long as they're not significantly worse or significantly better, there's that chance to learn and improve all that much more, because it's a friendly challenge. It provides this warmth and comfort for new players because they always will feel like they have a fair chance at winning. But as I said before, keep this skilled-based matchmaking solely optional. It does not have to be mandatory. We shouldn't force people to go against people their own skill, because sometimes people just want the randomness in it. Sometimes people want to gamble. Maybe you'll go up against someone who's really poor at the game and is brand new, and it'll be an easy win. Other times you're going to have to get your stuff together and make sure you play things very intelligently, because the player you're up against is significantly better than you as a whole. With a game such as Treasure Wars that has over 100,000 user entries per month, it would be nice to give all those players some choice about how they want their experience to be. No approach to this would be too broken. If you want your normal matchmaking, obviously it's going to be random in some cases. Sometimes you'll go up a lobby that's impossible for you to win in. Other times it'll be super easy. It's random. That's never been broken. That formula works the way it is for the most part. But with skill-based matchmaking, you're always going to be guaranteed to go against players of your skill level, so in that way, it's not broken either. One option will give way to more of a chaotic approach. It's random, it's gambling, you're hoping you're going to get lucky. While the other approach, the skill-based matchmaking, will give way to more of a controlled and fair environment. The world's your oyster, you choose which one you want. I think this would be a very good way to balance out any issues in terms of skill and console balance. Where it seems like I've done nothing but point out cons about Treasure Wars, there is a lot to be admired here. And the first thing I want to dive upon, and this is huge, is definitely the customization you have at the start of every game. The cheapest thing you can buy in the game is 5 gold. When you have 5 gold at the start of every game, you have one of technically 4 options, but there's always 2 that are the primary choices. Are you going for 32 wool to bridge, or going for a sword to defend? The reason why this system should be admired so much more than it is because it allows players the choice of freedom. There is ways that everyone can play that is best for them in this. There is plenty of choice to go around. There are, I would say, 3 main playstyles that people like to go by in this game. Defensive. Somebody who stays by the treasure, makes sure it's properly layered with all kinds of different blocks, along with having some basic armor and a decent weapon so they can defend their treasure. Offensive. Players that take advantage of another player's vulnerability and attacks their treasure as quickly as they can. And lastly, tactical. Taking an approach where you prepare for things ahead of time. Brute force isn't your way to go. You want to think of more clever ways to prevent yourself from getting into certain situations while putting other people in situations where their strong weapons aren't going to be the thing that gets them out. It's outsmarting people. Another thing I need to talk about in terms of freedom is the meta. The meta has a couple different approaches you can take to it. There is no true meta. It is your choice versus everyone else's. And that's something that Treasure Wars very much benefits from. It invites new players into the game even if they don't want to be PvP fanatics. They can take the game slower and have more fun with it if they do not want to fight, and that is okay because they can still be of use to people on their team. Another thing that I have really come to appreciate over the years about Treasure Wars is its basic approach to the formula that it follows, similar to games like Bed Wars and Cake Wars. Treasure Wars is a hell of a lot more simple than in contrast to the other two games I mentioned. In Cake Wars, for example, there's even enchantments and stuff in the game, which although is very fun to use when I do play it, taking the more basic fundamental approach is better for everybody overall. The audience goes from being a little bit less advanced and more general, making the game a whole lot better in terms of popularity. Another source of strength coming from Treasure Wars is its progression. As I mentioned before, there are 100 levels, and with that there is this really good sense of wanting to progress. And just that sense of progression is what reels people in to keep playing. People want to play so they can see themselves to get more experience, both literally and figuratively. It's really fun to see that little number between your hunger bar and your health bar go up one by one every now and then because you are all that much closer to max level. I also want to talk about prices of things and all that. The entire foundation of this game is based around the item shop, things that you can access by using your currency to get as you please. The price balance is fantastic. It makes the game move at a pretty good pace, not too fast, and not anything close to too slow either. It is really good overall. So, with everything that I've said, every good thing about freedom and control, in contrast to possible skill issues and skill balancing, along with platform issues, is Treasure Wars the best game on the Hive? Is there any easy way to just spew out an answer? No, there is no easy answer to this question. It requires a lot of digging and a lot of analyzing. But we've done all that. We understand that there is a lot to love about this game, with a bit to not like as much. And along with that, the numbers speak for themselves. This is the most played game on the Hive by far, and that says plenty within its own. Every other game doesn't have what Treasure Wars has. Death Run is all about running, there is no other choice. Sky Wars is about luck and fighting, maybe you can play defensively, but there is no choice beyond what playstyle you go by. Treasure Wars is more in-depth than Sky Wars, so Treasure Wars will trounce Sky Wars. Murder Mystery is just murder mystery, and survival games is as basic as it gets. What I am getting at is that Treasure Wars has something that none of these otherwise pretty good games have. There's a lot of choice and versatility in Treasure Wars, and no other Hive game can compete with that. That is not to say any other Hive game is bad, but Treasure Wars is just objectively better. Can apply to more types of players, can be enjoyed by nearly everybody, has choices you can make all the time. This game is dictated by your decisions as a whole, and I don't mean for it to sound like a Telltale game, but that's the truth of the matter. Treasure Wars is a lot more in-depth than meets the eye. When you really break it down and take a look at every single piece that makes up this brilliant puzzle, there is so much within it. It is very astounding. So, is Treasure Wars truly the best game on the Hive? My answer to that is yes, it is the best on the Hive. More players, more different types of playstyles, a lot more freedom. That's what makes Treasure Wars the best. It's not because of the game within, it's because of how many people this game can be played by. That's what makes it better. So with all of that, all said and done, everything has been talked about, no piece of Treasure Wars has been untouched. I'm hoping I was able to convey to you as to why Treasure Wars may just be the best game on the Hive, and maybe you don't agree, and if you don't, I'd love to hear that in the comments. So please, on your way out, I'd appreciate a like and maybe a subscription while you're at it. And yes, that'll conclude this video. Have yourself a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.